For the 50 companies that have been suspended from trade. As I said, some fully, others are just a technical suspension. Give us an update on how this impacted the bourse today, because we were only down 0.7%. Many of these companies relatively small, but they're three major companies, of course, that being Dangote Flour, Con Oil, and of course African Petroleum.
Yes, as you said, we didn't see much impact in traded value today. The companies that were placed on suspension constitute a relatively small part of the market, less than 5% of market capitalization. So we didn't see this affect traded value today. Traded value was about 1.3 billion, which was in line with yesterday's trades, and so it didn't impact trading significantly.
Well, just taking a look at what led up to this, because it is all about the financial results, and a lot of these companies have had warnings and of course updates about ensuring that they do release their results on time. What do you think led up to this?
For the companies that were fully suspended, they had not released results since the 2008 financial year. The ones that were placed on technical suspension had not released results since 2009, and this was the reason why these companies were suspended.
Why do you think that is, though, Seun? Why do you think that it hasn't been compliance on this front?
It has been a matter of the lack of enforcement. Because the regulators were quite lax, companies really did what they liked. But going forward from now, the regulators have shown that they can apply that strong hand, and going forward, I think compliance is going to be more adhered to.
What do you think this is going to do to investor sentiment? Because we're looking at those companies that are technically suspended, and those including those three big companies that I mentioned, as I said, Dangote Flour, African Petroleum, and Con Oil as well. They can be traded, but we will not be seeing any move on the share price. What do you think investors are going to do?
I think we have to look at this from a broad perspective. I think the market has been looking for things like this. We've been looking for confidence boosters, and this has sure come from the regulators at a good time. Going forward, I think the market will be looking to similar developments like this, which points to corporate governance and transparency, and it's going to be the beginning of good things to come for the market, I believe, in terms of transparency and the like. We expect it to have a positive effect overall on the market. Yes, the companies that are technically suspended, Dangote Flour, Con Oil, and AP, as you mentioned, will not see activity in their share prices. I don't think this will have a negative effect on the market as a whole.
Because there is another big investigation that is on the go. 240 companies are being investigated, and of course this is in a bid to try and improve corporate governance as well. But looking at these companies that have been suspended and those companies that have been fully suspended, they are relatively small. Do you think that there was a little bit of liquidity when it comes to these companies anyway, so we won't be seeing a very big impact when it comes to the liquidity on the bourse?
Yes, you're very right. We're not going to see much liquidity impact on the bourse because of those companies. As I said, they constitute less than 5% of the total market, so the liquidity is not going to be really affected. I think market participants are still going to have the same sentiments that they had before now to general trading.
Well, Seun, let's zoom into some of these companies. Let's start off with Dangote Flour. As we said, one of those favorites when it comes to the NSE. What is the market cap of this company, and how do you think that investors are going to view this company after being suspended?
Presently, Dangote Flour has a market cap in the range of about 28 billion or so. And I think basically the company has been one that has elicited a lot of interest from investors recently. The results have been expected for a while now because lower wheat prices have generally tended towards helping creating expectations for strong growth in FY09 numbers. The results have lagged for a bit, and it basically is not what the market really expected at this time. I still think with this initiative by the NSE, the results are going to be released very soon, and we're going to see those strong numbers we've been expecting.
What impact do you think the stronger wheat prices, the higher wheat prices on a global level, how do you think that is going to impact Dangote Flour and other millers out there? And do you think that investors will start favouring other mills as opposed to Dangote Flour?
I think in the short run we're going to see other millers definitely get most of the activity. But for wheat prices have just come on the upward movement in the last couple of 8-9 weeks as a result of the ban in Russia and weather pressures in other parts of the world. I think the flour millers are pretty insulated in the short term because they keep a high level of inventory, about 2 months worth of inventory. But if these prices continue to stay at this high rate, at these high levels, I think it's going to impact their bottom lines somewhat. But we have to take into cognizance that these companies are already diversified to some extent. They've extended their businesses into higher margin products like wheat and pasta. For companies like flour mills, it has just 50% of its business coming from the core milling business. It has interest in cement and in fertilizer. And so, though winning higher wheat prices might cause some pressure in the short term, I still believe the story still remains the same for the flour millers. They are trading attractive valuations, and the market is going to continue to keep an eye on them.
Seun, you know, we're looking at the difference between the technically suspended stocks and the fully suspended stocks. As I mentioned earlier, the ones that are technically suspended, we can still trade those stocks, but we won't be seeing any movement on the share price. Do you think investors are going to start dumping shares in these stocks, and then when we do see a resumption of trade, that these stocks will be trading at a significantly downgraded level?
There can be movement in the prices of the stock presently because they are suspended. That said, I think when trading returns to normal, the prevailing sentiments that existed before the suspension will continue, and so stocks that were favored will continue to be favored. I don't think this is a major shock to the market. Everybody knew the results were not released, and so it doesn't come as a shock. I don't think it affects sentiments broadly.
Okay, well, looking at the border. Yeah, looking at the broader picture now, the NSE all shares, we said, lost 0.7% in today's session. Yesterday, lost 0.6%. We keep talking about when sentiment is going to be returning on the NSE all share. It really is about the banking system. It is about the regulations that are going to be put in place. When do you think we could see a significant turnaround in the fortunes of the NSE?
What the NSE needs now is a catalyst. Valuations are looking very attractive, and the market knows this, but we need a catalyst to spur buying. The NSE has been one of the best performing markets in the world, so obviously the world has not closed its eyes to the valuations that presently prevail in the market. But we need some catalysts. We need some additional disclosure as to regulations and the effect of the measures that have been coming through to the market, like the asset management company. And when these things come into place, I think we will see strong reversal in sentiment. That said, I think something else that could be a major boost to the market is strong earnings releases by major companies, which will signal a return to profitability of the major companies on the index. That will trigger some buying in the market.
Turning our attention now to the Forex markets, we saw Forex reserves falling 5.58%, $36 billion, and that's from $38.2 billion in mid-August. We see quite a bit of pressure because there's been a lot of dollar demand coming through from the local companies in Nigeria. It has been an ongoing issue where we are starting to see a slump in reserves for the whole year. How long do you think it's going to take before we start seeing the Naira appreciating? And of course, just looking at the reserve base that we've been seeing in Nigeria, a big deterioration, I would say, over the last few months.
Looking at those numbers we've seen in demand, I think it will be good for the market to not to react too speedily to that. I think it would be good to watch those numbers. We know there are some seasonality factors that affect the demand of Forex in the country, sort of when importers import in bulk and petroleum subsidy monies are paid. We've seen this kind of heavy levels of demand in the past this year, which have subsided with time. And so it would be good to just watch those numbers. I won't want to jump into any conclusions about the direction of the Naira now, but I think it's going to be stable in the short to medium term.
Seun, looking at the broader market as well, what are your stock picks right now? It is kind of a tough choice because we're seeing banks trading at fair values at this point in time. Some looking very attractive. We've got the cement companies doing relatively well. So we do have some companies doing well, others are lagging. Clearly a good time to jump into some of those companies that have fallen behind.
Yes, as you said, it's a tough choice to really pick at this time. But I'll be really playing defensively for now. I'll be putting my money with the consumer staples broadly and be watching for the trigger points in the banks. The banks are trading at good valuation, but I'm not just going to jump into those stocks. I'll be watching, waiting on the sidelines and playing the consumer staples for now. That said, I think the flour millers are still looking good despite pressures, upward pressures on wheat prices. Sticking with them, the cement companies are also looking attractive at these prices. So I think even for long-term investors, now is a good time to enter the banks. I think we're seeing significant value. The Nigerian market is trading at a forward P of about 11 times, which I believe is attractive, seeing the growth potential we expect from the Nigerian market.